I just like always set up my camera right away and then just try to figure everything out. By the way, I think just want to make this a bit more zoomed
I
in.
think anyway, I love more the LED purple behind you.
Okay, let's change that. If
Yeah,
Manuela
you look
thinks
like rising, like Jesus Christ.
there we go. What do you think of this?
Yeah, better.
That's better. Cool.
Mhm.
Awesome. Are we live? I think so. Um
Yes, I guess.
I see that we are recording for sure.
okay, cool. That's all we need for now. Hello everybody who's joining the call. Welcome to today's Creators Call. Welcome, Aladdin. Welcome, Manuela. Thank you for being here. Aladdin now looks like he's on the dark side of the force. He is ready to kill. And yeah, today's session will be a bit different. I just want to go over some. I feel like I say that for every session. But like for every session, I say this session is going to be so different. But this one actually will be more of a. We had last week we went through some. What did we go last week? We did. Oh yeah, we went through some technical stuff with camera animation, answered some technical stuff. Blender. This session will be a bit less technical and more creative and communicative with how to present your ideas to clients, how to work out a concept that impresses the client in the best case, and in the even better case, it gets you the job. That's what we're trying to, or at least I'm going to try to share some of my, um, you know, knowledge about it and my way of doing it with you guys today. So, welcome. I just want to go over some quick updates on motion creators. As we said, the live calls will be different very soon. We are in touch with a bunch of different creators, so as April happens, we still have this transition phase happening for everybody who's watching. The live calls will be a lot different from May on. We'll have a bunch more guests. We'll have a bunch more exciting formats. But these calls for this month will be more technical, more dedicated to one specific topic. Still feel free to answer a question, ask any questions if you have any. Also, you, Manuela, Aladdin, happy to have a chat. Otherwise, yeah, the compositing module is done. It's about to be live. It's super cool. Call it an amazing job. It's about how to blend real stuff and real footage together, CG and real together. Um, Super exciting stuff. I will personally watch that video because I suck at compositing, and I will try to get better at it. So, yeah, very exciting. Awesome.
Is it the Carlo one, right? The one.
Yeah, Carlo
Mhm. Mhm.
um, is working on it. He's done it, so gonna be very cool. Awesome. Let's go over some basics. First of all, I want to start off. Also, actually, I will do like a little since I don't know if we're even people here in the chat, but if either way, I just want to do like a quick intro. I think I already did one because we'll repurpose this video as a video, this call as a video. So this one's going to be just like a super cool, a super quick intro on what this video will be about. So in this video, I will be going over some of my techniques on how to work out a concept that you can present to your client. If you have a creative idea, if you have something in mind that you want to present to the client, sometimes it's hard to visualize an idea, especially when it's very creative, right, and less corporate and more outside the box. It can be very hard to present it to someone who doesn't know your idea. Um, and there is some tips and tricks that I have found useful on how to do that, how to feel confident while creating, because it's also something if you're not convinced by your idea or if you're not presenting it in a confident way, the client might not be as excited about it because they don't even know what the idea is, right? So first step always is to be excited about your own idea and to share that excitement with the client. In my opinion, that always helps me. And a good start to that is having a concept in place that is visually appealing and helps you support your presentation. So let's go over. I have prepared a quick example presentation. I think I've showed it briefly before, but I just want to quickly show it again. Um, I do not have yeah, I could show this to you guys. This is the concept that I have done for the client. This is not NDA, but I will just share it in the call here. So let's just go over. This is an example project I think was kind of like resembles the workflow that I like take when I do concepts. This one is for an MMA fighting company. They do, it's close to UFC, but it's not UFC. It's called Brave, and they host these MMA events, as you can see. And the concept for this is going to be, something out of the box, something, or the goal for them was to create something in my unique style. That's usually the first, idea that they give me is like, create something that you want, like something in your style that still fits our product, our event, our niche, or whatever it is, while just giving me as much creative freedom as possible. That's usually what I ask for, first of all. So I went ahead and created this little presentation. I'm just going to run through the presentation real quick and give you like a quick rundown of how this concept works. So prepare the slide, quick logo, nothing special, but it helps to send it to them and make it feel more professional, I guess. Second slide is, as you can see, I've prepared these little slides and little pictures, because this is something that I think can make your work stand out a lot. And I will show you how you create this, how you can create this kind of stuff very easily with basic knowledge of 3D software. Because at the end of the day, when you're writing down an idea, it's always it's okay, but what makes it stand out and what makes the client instantly understand it, or makes them understand the approach a lot more, is when you have a picture in place and reference. So as much reference as possible, put that in there. I think the whole concept itself took me around, I don't know, like an hour to make, but it was definitely worth it, because when I showed it to them, they were like, oh my God, we want to go with that. That's sick, and they understood my vision. They understood why I got excited about it. And they were like, okay, fuck it. We trust you, do it. Whereas if I just sent them a text, they might not be as excited about it. So these kind of pictures, we'll go over how to create them super quickly in Blender. No special AI tools, actually, just like quick hacks on how to do stuff. So I'm just going to go through that super quick. I just walked towards the MMA arena, the fighting arena, the fighting cage, do my little intro here. Then I hop over the fence, walk towards the cage here. And this is supposed to look like I'm sneaking in. We have access to the arena. We can talk to the fighters and everything. And then I hop into the cage, and as I do that, the camera turns around, and we have access to one of the fighters who's actually fighting at the event. So that fighter will be, in his boxing glove, in his MMA fighting gloves. He will stand in his outfit and then run towards me. And all of a sudden, all the lights turn on. I'll be like, no, wait, that was a mistake. I was not supposed to be here. And then as he punches me, by the way, this video is not done yet. This is the concept I'm showing you right now without the video being done. So this is the idea. Maybe none of that will turn out great. So, but that still is a cool concept. And as he punches me, I will do a 3D transition, and I put in a little reference here of how this could look. This is just an example of one of my reels. I will do a completely different approach, but it doesn't really matter, because they see that I've done something like this before, and that was very convenient for this one. And then, as he punches me, I fly through the arena in 3D. We have a crowd in the background, which is not here yet. But then as I land on the seats, we have the crowd cheering. Everything's going to look super crazy. And then as the camera turns around, we have one transition to real footage where there's an audience member looking down at me. By the way, this face is amazing. I love it. And then we transition back to 3D. The camera flies around the arena, showcasing the event venue and everything. And then we end with a real shot, again, of the fighter who's actually winning the fight, who I will be recording when he's having his, winning ceremony, whatever, with his fist in the air. And yeah, that's kind of it. And then it loops. That's the basic idea. It's going to be very short. It feels very long, but it's not. It's not. It's going to be very short, matter of a few seconds. And then what I also include is a little why this works, because sometimes when it's a creative concept like that, it looks fun and it's like oh cool idea, crazy idea, but then they want to know, okay, obviously what what they're interested in is, why is this worth the money that we're spending on this? And obviously the goal should be to create reach, which I cannot guarantee, which is also something I never guarantee reach. That's something I do not want to do. But I tell them like a little, little description of why I think this will work. And just, summarizing that a bit, showcasing the event in a fresh and engaging way while staying true to the brand's identity, merging 3D animation with real footage, because that's my style, building anticipation and surprise, blah, blah, narrative-driven content, integrate the actual event winner into the story, build excitement and curiosity. Viewers are naturally led to search for the event, increase visibility and reach. All this kind of stuff is ChatGPT. I'm not going to lie. This is all ChatGPT, but it was enough for them to be like, okay, he thought of certain things, and it makes me feel makes me not look like someone who's like, I do a funny video, but as someone who has their goal in mind, which is to create reach and to create, money and income. So this is one of the most important slides, I think, for them. And then also one of the things that after having seen all this, they will probably ask, okay, what are you going to need for that? How long will this take? So I give them a rough breakdown of what I need exactly. So at the end of the day, when they see the concept, they like it, they will only have to look at this slide that I provide for them. It's a pre-event and post-event shooting, which is not going to take longer than 2 hours, with an empty arena to film, 3D scans of the arena to create seamless 3D transitions. We'll have the champion integration, preferably with the winning fighter. This will be shot at the event, and we will need full access, obviously, for the event. So this will be the information that they can then take home and do their job in providing them, because this is also very important when I present something. I want to instantly give them the next steps. Once they approve the concept, what happens? Okay, what do you guys do now? You like my idea? Okay, then please make sure that I get full event access, that I can shoot with the according people, blah, blah, blah. That's all stuff that they need to do, and that they instantly have a job and feel like I have an idea of what needs to happen and what, like, keep the ball rolling. There's a pre-production, there's a production, and for them, there's also the next steps involved. You're like, as far as how do we move forward? What do we need to do to make this happen? We like it. What do we need to do? That's also in there. That's it. That's honestly it. And I know that you can like spend hours and hours and hours on concepts. But usually when they approach me, or when the client approaches you because they already seen stuff of some of your stuff, you have an easier time presenting them with something they will be excited about, because they already like your work. And at the end of the day, it comes down to just presenting them with an idea that is tailored to them and makes them feel special in some ways. Obviously it's special. It's something new, something that I haven't done before. It's something that it's tailored to their brand. So yeah, it was a good concept. They loved it. They were like, let's do it. I will fly to China next week to shoot it. So will be very exciting. Wow. Yeah, it will be very exciting. It's again, something out of my comfort zone. I think it's not something with cars, it's something with people, it's something with the crowd. It's cool. Let's see. But this is kind of what I presented them. I think the main components are obviously just the overall look and feels professional, and the pictures and references for them too, because when you look through those slides, you can already get a sense for how the video will look by just looking at the pictures. And I think this is something that for them is very important, because they can share this link with anyone, right? There's a description in there. I'll use ChatGPT for that. And I just want to showcase how easy it can be to create those images. I know there's tons of AI tools to do that, and there's a bunch of storyboarding tools, and I've tried a ton. I can tell you right now, I've tried a ton, and they're all great. They all have their purpose, and but what I think is the easiest for me is just going inside of Blender and blocking out the scene exactly how I want it, instead of spending hours and hours on prompting. So I just want to do that real quick with you guys. So when I open up Blender, I have this, I'm in the lucky position to have a 3D model of myself that I can use for this. As you can see, it's here. It has my features, but that is not obviously what you need. You can also just go ahead and use other models of other human beings, or whatever you guys need. Then one of my most trusted features, or most trusted add-ons that I always go to first, is Blender Kit. It has a monthly subscription, but is very, very, very much worth it. I can't even express how much worth it. I think it is. Because what you can do is you can go in here and obviously look for 3D models, and you can block out your scene manually, or you go into the find scenes, and then I think I looked for an MMA arena. I don't know if they had it on BlenderKit actually, now that I think about it. But there was a free MMA arena online that I downloaded that I can just quickly pull up. So just go ahead and look for some 3D models. And 1 second, I'll just pull it up real quick. I think it should be in here. Otherwise, I think there's also, other things. If you just look for arena, doesn't really matter. Say the MMA arena was a basketball court. It's just about to get like an idea of how this works, right? BlenderKit comes with a bunch of different scenes, and I think it's super, super cool because you can essentially pick anything from here, just click it, and it's in your scene. And yeah, then it's just a matter of quickly adjusting a few things, moving the scene around. As you can see here, one of the things that I found very easy is to just quickly add a camera to your viewport, adjust the settings a bit, make it like vertical, and again, I think this comes very natural to me because I do work a lot in Blender, and it makes it super easy for me to just position the camera exactly where I want, because this is something I find very hard in other tools, whereas to Blender I know how to move cameras, but you can use any tool obviously. But what I found works best for me was Blender because I'm very used to it. And then if you don't have a 3D model of yourself for the scene, you can even go ahead and go into BlenderKit again, go to the models tab, and just click or go for human, because what BlenderKit has, it has a bunch of different rigs. You can see there's a bunch of different models that you can just click and drag and drop in here. And there's even some photo scans, which are also pretty cool. So if you don't want to make custom poses, you can also just click here, and it will create a human, the photo scan of the human inside of your scene. I'm just gonna hide that real quick. And you can see when I move the camera down here, the human is down there for some reason. But if I just move it up real quick, you can see there's a quick photo scan of this guy in here. And yeah, obviously it all comes down to your scene, but I think the main thing to keep in mind is that camera angle, camera position, focal length, that kind of stuff should be, tailored to what you're trying to achieve. So say for an example, we were to create this kind of shot with this guy on the court, he's looking there. And then I think you get the idea. Obviously I could tweak the scene, make it better, and make it look custom, but this is just an example. And then I usually go ahead and I create I just passport to make this up. So you can see I usually go ahead and just block out my scene. This is something I do first. And then when I go into render, it should probably be already lit, I think. This one, yeah, it comes with lighting even. The scene even comes with lighting. But you can obviously make it more custom, make the lighting a bit more custom. And then I usually just render out this frame as a reference frame and paste it into the presentation. And I think this is like the extra step that you can go, which makes the presentation stand out so much more. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just different than, and sometimes people draw things, and I used to do that on paper, and it worked. But obviously for me, having a model of a car, for an example, I do a concept for a car brand, having the car of the actual, the campaign in place and using that in the storyboard is so much, more straight to the point, so much easier, I think. Yeah, so that's how I did it for this storyboard. I just used different frames from that scene, positioned the model in different places. So I, for the next frame, as maybe he's walking towards there, I usually just rotate him. And with those kinds of models, it's harder to do because you cannot move them. But if you have a rig in place, it's pretty easy to do, and it doesn't need to be perfect. Like you can see the frames in this presentation that I showed you are not close to being perfect, but they work because they do kind of give a sense of what the scene will look like. And also the references are also obviously great. They don't have to be from you. Just pick something that kind of looks like the stuff that you're trying to create. I'm just going to pull up another concept for you guys as an example, because this approach was a bit different. You can see this one I already shared in the other video. This one was from Mazda. This is the one I can share now. And this one was a bit different because I used a different software for that, but it was still, you can see it was roughly blocked out. The camera movement was right. And I even put some reference that was not for me for the video in place. And that also worked, and just gave like a rough description of how the what will happen in the shots. And it's just great to have that in the call and be like, okay, I'm just going to send you over that presentation after this call. And then they were always super glad to be like, okay, awesome. Then they have a look at it, they talk to their bosses about it, whatever. One thing I do want to mention though, and that is very important as from a business point of view, make sure that you do not put in this time into a concept like that without having a signed contract, because this is something I used to do a lot. I used to come up with the craziest concept, put in the best, like the most amount of time in there, presented them, they were like, awesome, great, and then they never got back or pick someone else for the project. This is something you really need to make sure to not do that before a contract is signed. I'm just going to share with you a quick example of what the first draft, because usually what they ask for is a first draft, right? They want an initial idea, and it's a thin line between doing something that excites them enough for them to be like, okay, we want to do the project with you, and not putting in too much effort beforehand, because that also kind of feels unprofessional, right? They haven't signed a contract, so you don't want to put in that time. Just makes sense. But it's good to also deliver something to them. And that is why I'm just going to pull up this real quick. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, the actual concept that is also not done yet. So, but we haven't signed an NDA for it, so I could show it to you because the contract is not even signed. So please do not share this. But there is this is what this is actually what the concept looked like for this Kia, and it's you can see it's really not that much effort, but combining a concept like that with a professional email stating that we have sat together, gathered our first ideas, sending it to them and being like, okay, if you want more and if you want us to, really start working it out in depth, we need to sign a contract, right? This combination right there is so much better than to be like, okay, we need a contract before we start working. But this concept right there took honestly 5 to 10 minutes to make. I'm not even like, that's, you can bear. Like that's okay. But I wouldn't put in that time for a concept that I don't even know if they will want to work with me. But there's two things. So before they sign the contract, I do this kind of stuff, send them like a rough outline of what the ideas are, visual flow, mood board ideas, just some reference images of what we want the car shots to look like. And then just, putting some highlight keywords in there of features that we picked up in the initial call, where we'll be like, okay, you guys have a pickup truck with a bunch of upgrades that you think are really cool and you want to showcase. We'll include that. We'll make a cool transformation out of it. We'll make that. We'll make that. And they were like, okay, that's exactly what we want, right?
So just to know, so you collect all the information during the first call?
Yes.
And so this would be more a concept call in which you agree with them, which is the kind of idea. Then when you finalize the contract, so they sign the contract, then the presentation that you show is like the next step.
Yes. So first call is usually the just get to know the campaign, get to know what they want, just gathering as much information about them as possible. Also kind of getting a sense for how their budget looks like, what their budget situation is. Then usually call is ended with a quote. And if we are somewhat aligning there, then we move ahead and go for by the way, this is not a blueprint. This always depends on the client. But then we go ahead.
It's like not investing so much time on doing the idea if it's not like concluded as a deal. I mean, so.
Do not do that. But this kind of stuff we haven't signed a contract for that, but this kind of stuff I have done before, and it was more than enough for them to be like, okay, we have something, we've done our job as the people that reach out. Now it's about our bosses approving the job or not, and that's usually when they say like, okay, they've started to work on something, they usually don't even look at it. They were like just like, okay, yeah, cool. Looks, sounds cool, great. They have a portfolio, they look professional, they sound professional. Let's sign the contract, and then we move ahead and have this concept presentation, which also is great for me because I think with this in place, I have a lot more confidence being there and being like, okay, this is my idea. If someone asks me for an idea, I don't have to start from zero. I can just send them a link. Everybody kind of gets a feel for it, which also fills me with a lot more confidence. Sitting down for an hour, really thinking about the camera movements, makes it so much easier, obviously, when you're on set. And again, we're talking social media production, live production. This is an event, so it's going to be very hectic, very stressful. So having a worked out concept like that in place is very useful and crucial. Yeah, that's basically it. Honestly, I think the main key components are really make sure that you understand as much about the brand as possible, understand what's important for them. Make sure to highlight that when you present the project in the final slide, or just put it in there. Make sure that you understood what they want without, instead of just giving them a completely crazy creative idea, because they don't really care, right? They care about the results, and if you have the results in mind, and if that's your way of achieving those results, they're usually pretty happy, which also means you have a lot of creative freedom, which is also great. That's the first step. And then go ahead, present them with a rough idea. Give them a sense for what you will do, but not too much, where there would be like, okay, we want more now. Yeah, that's how I do it. And then usually when the contract is signed, I present it with this, and we move ahead with the production planning, and then the rest is history. So yeah, I hope that was insightful. This is not, again, a blueprint, but this is just how I do it.
So, for example, for the key concept that you report over here, are you able to take care of all the tasks? So you usually, okay, maybe now that you are more advanced, maybe for the 360 degrees drawn hyperlapse shots, maybe you delegate everything to somebody else, but usually you want at the first place, when you are not maybe having a team yet, to obviously collect the scenes in a way that you are able to do it by yourself, right? So
Yeah.
in this case, are you delegating all of them or most of them? As
Yeah,
part of them?
I'm trying because right now the position is that there is a bunch of projects happening at the same time, and I'm trying to get as much done as possible with as little effort from my side as possible. So trying to delegate as many tasks as possible. So I spend a lot of money on or allocate a lot of budget for freelancers that I calculate already in, because otherwise I couldn't do the project. This one, for an example, I could not spend more than 3 days on this project. It will require at least a week to 2 weeks to do. So we'll definitely need more people to do it. But luckily, I have a good team around me, and we know a bunch of people from around the world. So being able with confidence, or being able to say with confidence, because usually this trip would require traveling to Dubai, but we do not have the time to do that. So we thought, okay, either we let this project slip, or we just think of someone who could shoot the shots, which also means on our side we need more communication, telling people how to shoot this stuff exactly how we want it. But doing that, taking that step, I think is so useful in the long run, because you're going to have a much easier time working with that same person in the future, because they do understand your vision. But yeah, this is just general delegation. But the concept stuff was more about direct client communication, right? What do they see versus what do I do? I communicate with the CGI team. I talk about budgets with them. They do not need to worry about that. They just need to give me that little piece of paper that says budget X, project Y, and then we just sign it, and then we go ahead and I do everything else.
So generally speaking, in the process, how many times it happened to you that you needed to change your storyboard to maybe?
Always.
Oh, okay.
Always. I could tell you right now, 90% of the stuff that I present to them is not how it turns out. But usually it doesn't really matter, because what they want to see is that I have a plan. And that is why also I don't feel super, I feel very confident in showcasing them something very upfront, even though I have not figured everything out with my own mind. Like, this is also something when I present them with an idea. That's the initial idea. But as they know, or as they may not know, that idea might change, which doesn't really matter because they will probably not understand it either way until they see it, right? And they don't see what images I have in my head. So it doesn't matter. But usually the idea changes, sticks to the concept more or less, but kind of also like the visual just, happens to change. Yeah, until I really need to start working on it, and then I need to like put on my brains and be like, okay, what do I do now? This is how I work. This is not how everybody works. Obviously, there's probably more efficient ways to do it, but for me, this takes a lot of stress off my shoulders. I have enough confidence in my creativity to come up with something cool that I'd be like, okay, just trust me with this, and then we'll do something.
Great.
Yeah.
So it's nice also that you are keeping the line of automotive stuff, but
Yeah.
anyway, you are going also in a completely different direction otherwise.
Yeah, but I like that. I like that. I
So-
like that. That's challenging. That's automotive. I feel like I've done a lot now, and that's like I don't want to say easy. It's not easy, but it's
Mhm.
definitely something I've done before. But I do want to push myself to do other stuff, and that's what I always preach. And now I also need to do it myself. So yeah.
And so, what are you also working for? I mean, yeah, we don't want maybe to have more tea, but just to know the different kind of concept, different kind of industries. So, do you have also other strange industry other than cars that you are working with, other than this one that you are like sharing right now?
I do, but unfortunately, I for most of the projects that I have done, they are pretty strict with the NDAs. That's one of the problems with, I tried these two concepts I can share, but the other ones, they all differ. But I think that the reason why I wanted to showcase is this one was because I feel like this is the most, for me, the best workflow until now. So this is one of my recent concepts, and I think this is how I probably create the next one and the next one too. I don't do concepts for every single video, by the way. This is also something, if it's like a large campaign and they ask for it, then I do that. If they don't ask for it, then why would I need to put in the effort? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think maybe it's more useful when they are not the one to decide and they need to discuss this internally. So you also provide the slides and the presentation to
Exactly.
present, yeah, internally.
That
to
is something
staff.
that
Mhm.
happens a lot with bigger brands. Obviously, now that I work with bigger brands, it's usually that require like a first concept. But sometimes it's enough to just write a text, and then depends on how close you are with the person, or you just discuss it in a call and be like, okay, we trust your vision. You have something cool in mind. I've done done something like that with Dacia, for an example, but also with BMW. That was the completely opposite, because it was an agency between the client. It was like an
Mhm.
agency that I talked to, and they wanted first concept, so they were hosting this big presentation of all creators needed to present their projects. The client was there was like 25 people in the call, and everybody approved on it, and everybody needed to like give their input, and they're like super annoying. I'm not gonna lie, it was super annoying, but that's how they work. And the concept turned out completely different than what I showed them, but it doesn't really matter. They just need to know that the agency is doing their work. The more people are involved, though, usually the more complicated it gets, which is why I like to work on a smaller team directly with the client. But yeah, just depends.
And for example, for smaller brands, so how it works, they ask you to publish this reel in their own account, or they use it to maybe only have sponsor ads video that they are not asking you to publish, or they use it on their own account. So
Yeah,
also
I
this
mean,
is the big one. I mean,
yeah, nowadays I don't really do like, I try to focus mainly on bigger flagship campaigns for brands, because I don't, do that much just like freelance work in terms of like work for hire kind of stuff, where they ask me to do something and that I do it for them, and then just like I don't really do that anymore. So when I do something now, I want to make it unique and true to my style, so I can publish it, because that obviously also generates more um, eyes on my account. But yes, I've done that a lot. A few months, years in the past, where I was working on smaller scale projects, and that was more for the client, and that usually is not that exciting, I think, because then you don't feel so motivated to shape the stuff to be in have your vision in there, but just do it for the money. And that is also, I think, the point you need to kind of pass, or I think I needed to pass in order to really unfold that blooming creativity. That, yeah.
Yeah, makes total sense. Yeah, because I saw that there are different approaches. So sometimes they call you, also big brands, only
Yeah.
to have the sponsor video that usually it's not at all in their
Yeah, yeah.
account, on your account, but it's only something that they use to
Yeah. I've
have a
done that. I've done
sponsor.
that for a bunch of brands. They usually require like a few assets, just assets to post on their account, which was the case for the BMW campaign. I think I did like 10 videos for them. One of them was supposed to be posted on both our accounts. Now they said they will post it in November. I was like, fuck, this is but can't do anything about it. So until then, I have nothing to show on my portfolio, but they paid a decent amount of money, so that was okay. And it's also a good reference. They now post like one of the little assets, but it's usually with those bigger companies, they just collect, they decide when they post, or they don't post it at all. And that's also, I think, very frustrating, which is why I try to focus on like 1 or 2 videos, or maybe maximum 3 videos per campaign. And then it's just like, yeah, that. But usually they don't even ask for more. That's also something. Sometimes they just want 1 video to be like, okay, this is the budget for that. We want 1 video with you on both our accounts. That's the best case, I think.
And so far for the storyboard, after the storyboard, because we were talking 2 weeks ago about how you also collect different phases of the call and agreements. So how do you collect the information from them? So instead of you designing stuff, you ask them to provide the things. And so far, all the big brands that you ask these things and files, they provided everything that you said, or you maybe when they are not able to give it to you, maybe because they are like too complicated to unfold or work on, are you also charging that and doing that from your side? Or maybe you change your storyboard completely because that is not possible?
It depends. I mean, I've done different things. Usually I try to think of the resources that I could get from the brand. When it's a camera brand, they could send over the product. Usually I want that. When it's a car brand, they can provide the 3D model usually. And for an example, with this, I have this model of this ship company, the cruise ship on my desk here. I need to shoot a video for them on Friday, and they sent over this model because I said I wanted to do something with like a real life model of the ship, but they couldn't provide me with a 3D model, which is very unfortunate. So I went ahead and told them that, okay, this is something we need to take into account because this will be something that I need to figure out. I charged them extra for that. And then I just went online and looked for a quick 3D model of a ship, found it, has the perfect proportions, look for a freelancer who can help me do the materials and make it look pretty and stuff. And then, the allocated budget that I put on extra was more than I, like needed to pay for the model plus the freelancer. So, there's like different ways you can approach it. But obviously when they have different resources, I usually ask for that. I try to get as much from them as possible. And then, and Aladdin is now in his sphere. Nice.
It's in the universe, whatever, in the
Yeah.
galaxy. Yeah. No, I think it's super interesting, and also it connects well to the discussion that we had 2 weeks ago. I think
Yeah.
it gives more maps on the different flavors that you can have during the conversation.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I just like to make these calls, again, every call is different, every client is different, they work in different ways, but it's always great to have your own kind of like way of doing things because they can also adapt to that. And also, as I said, when it's about communicating with confidence, it's about you feeling confident. And I feel very confident when I have an idea in place that I am very excited about. I cannot wait to share with them, and I let them feel that. I think you can feel when I get excited about something, and people also feel that. So, and that's with everybody. I think when you're actually excited about something and you have something to show, then they feel it too, and then it's way easier time than to sit there and be like, yeah, well, I was thinking maybe, and this, and this is, yeah, obviously.
now it's time for motorbikes. I mean,
Yeah.
no, that's really fine. I think that the thing that you shared 2 weeks ago was more related to another tool, right? So
Yeah, Yeah, I can show you that too.
Yeah, maybe
So,
to connect the dots. Yeah, it would be also interesting.
yeah, for the video,
Mhm.
because we will have that in the video too. I want to share a quick other tool that you can use that also costs a bit of money if you don't feel so confident in using Blender, for an example. There is a really great tool that I found, and it's called Previs Pro, and you can pay for it. I think it's a one-time subscription or a yearly subscription. I don't really know, but what it lets you do is very, very, very roughly block out your scene, and you can change between exterior, interior, day, night, and then you just set the scene. And it's essentially, I don't want to do a tutorial about this right now because I'm also not super comfortable in it. But essentially, what you can do is it lets you create different frames, and it's a lot. It's made for storyboarding. It gives you all the tools that you need to create your storyboard, and you can see here you can position the camera in a way that fits with your scene, and you can make it. You can make the focal length. You can adjust the focal length, make it match whatever you're trying to do with the shot. You have the grids here, and then when you're done, you can just save it as a frame, and you can just go ahead and create another frame, and then you just go back into the camera and you position it in a different way. Maybe focus on that person, and then you have the next frame, and then you can see as you can see here, we can click through the frames, and we can just export them as PNGs, which is very you'll get the hang of it pretty quickly. And you can even, and that's also something really cool, you can even do different different movements of the camera in here. So say for an example, we want a zoom in here, it will automatically create those arrows on the side, and you can even highlight different things here. You can give it like a focus here. This is obviously not the way to do it, but as you can see, there's a bunch of different tools in there that make it very easy to create storyboards very fast, and you can import so many different 3D models here. You can even create your own AI 3D tools with that. Just look it up. I personally don't use it because I'm super fast in Blender, but if you don't want to use Blender, it's also great for filmmaking and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's super great. And just to ask a question related to sessions, the guy that asked me about the storyboard was asking also that if there was no chance to attending the call, how it works now for the recording of the calls, because we are not publishing the recording anymore. So do we have a timeline in which that what we are saying today is like being published, just to have an idea?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think these recordings, I will text Jignesh to upload them too. But for the upcoming update, as the transition phase happens, we'll use these kinds of calls as separate videos. So they will be in the classroom, not just as call recordings, but like a video labeled how to create a good concept.
Okay, so it will be a section, a module, like a teaching module.
Yes,
As part
exactly.
of the, okay, that's fine.
Yes.
Because they were expecting to be also content outside the Instagram account, so I wanted to know. Okay, that's fine.
A lot of it. We have a lot of material, and we're working on it and publishing it. It's almost there. So close. Awesome.
Great. Yeah, we made it.
Cool. Let's use that. I don't know if we had some people, if some people watched. Not sure.
Yeah, we have 4 people in the audience, but they are not asking questions so far.
Yeah, that's what I think about these live calls. It's like it's mainly just a video. I just showcase stuff. It's a monologue, which is why the next live calls from May on will be different. We'll have more creators, more creativity, more cool stuff happening, more engaging also. But we'll use the value that we can create in those calls as much as possible to have even more value in the community. Awesome.
Ayman says, thanks for sharing this with us.
Ayman, you're the best. I appreciate the support. You're very much welcome, brother. Cool. Okay, guys, I need to go now.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks for your today's session. It was super valuable. And yeah, see you next week for
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining. Oh, wait, there is
Yeah, but can you tell more about your offer with Kia?
Depends. I have like 2 more minutes, but depends on what do you mean by more. Do you want me to share more details about the actual project? Because that is a project that I do not know if it's going to happen. it looks good, but it's nothing is signed yet, so I cannot share too much about it. But it was a pretty recent thing, so I just reached out and I wanted something close to the Porsche video, and they
Yeah,
really
Nico, I
wanted
think
us
that,
to-
yeah, what he was sharing is just, I mean, that next step of the call when you are not having a contract signed. So this is why maybe.
Yeah, maybe let's go ahead and share it again. When I do follow-up calls, or not follow-up, but when I follow up with something, I usually like to give them, a little sneak peek of what we can do. And this is not super pretty. I'm not gonna lie. I did not put enough. Maybe I think it was enough, but I could have put more effort into it. But I think it was enough because it was already looking pretty good. Just for them to be like, okay, we have something from them. We can show it to our supervisors. And yeah, they were like, okay, let's roll with it. So yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, awesome. I think that sums it up. I thank you all for joining and being a part of the Motion Creators family. It's going to be really cool. We have some exciting updates. Paul is going to be back. He's coming back in 2 days. Actually, I was wrong. I thought he was coming back on. Yeah, but yeah, I think he's pretty. Yeah, he's in the States right now. It's pretty shit weather. It's a bit cold, but yeah, figure everything out. Cool. Thank you guys. I need to go.
Thank you. Yeah, bye.
And we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just gonna stop the recording real quick. And then let's see if it's uploading. Dude, it's at 48% on my side.
For me.